Welcome back to another edition of Keeping Score, where we take a look at the business behind sports. In this edition, we're taking a look at so-called fantasy sports phenomenon. So what exactly is that? By definition, it's a contest where participants pit their make-believe teams against one another. Now, those teams are made up of real-life players from professional sports teams. To score points, the real-life players have to perform well, like score a basket or a touchdown. Points are taken away if the player does something to make his team lose, like fumble or turn over a ball to the opposing side. Points are scored based on real statistics from real players. After an allotted period of time, such as a week points scored by the players in the fantasy teams are tallied. The teams who end up with most points win. Participants compete against one another with their teams for fun or for cash. Now, the number of those competing in fantasy sports for cash is booming. There's been an explosion over the last few years, turning it into a multi-billion-dollar industry. And for some, it's not just a game, but a business. CCTV's Jim Spellman explains.
FanDuel has definitely changed my Sundays.
Tune into sports on TV in the U.S. and you're likely to see ads like this.
I've deposited a total of $35 on FanDuel and won over $2 million.
Fantasy sports websites like FanDuel and DraftKings offering big payouts to winners for just one day of play.
This isn't fantasy as usual. This is DraftKings.
Last year, 1.5 million Americans paid more than $1 billion in tournament entry fees. By the end of 2015, industry analysts expect that to grow to nearly 4 million participants in North America alone. Here's how it works. Choose a tournament with entry fees ranging from pennies to thousands of dollars. Pick a lineup of real players from sports like football, baseball, or basketball, then follow the action as those athletes earn points depending on their performances in real games. The payouts can be huge, but few people actually win. In the first half of the 2015 baseball season, more than 90% of the profits went to about 1% of those who played. Denny Carter is a fantasy football consultant, helping people choose the best lineups.
This sounds like something that really requires a lot of skill.
It really does. Roster management, bankroll management, the type of games that you're entering, head-to-head games, 50-50s, tournaments. This requires a ton of discipline to turn a profit, and that's why so few people do turn a profit.
But those who do play tend to play big.
How many tournaments are you participating in each week?
I participate in 25 to 50 a week, but there are people who enter hundreds, maybe even thousands of tournaments every week.
But that sounds like a full-time job.
It is.
So far, neither DraftKings nor FanDuel have turned a profit as they pour money into advertising. But investors like Google Capital and ESPN have invested hundreds of millions of dollars into the sites, betting they will become profitable and boost interest in sports in general.
You're not just watching your team, you're watching every team.
But growth is anything but a sure thing. The sites are currently legal and largely unregulated in the United States, but industry analysts say that might change as the sites grow. One U.S. congressman has requested hearings into the industry.
And earlier this week, an employee of DraftKings allegedly used inside information to win $350,000 on competing site FanDuel. It's unclear whether this breaks any laws, but at least for the time being, both sites have now banned their employees from playing fantasy sports for money. Authorities are investigating. Jim Spellman, CCTV, Washington.